Welcome back. Family life can be challenging all on its own, but what happens when you have blended families and maybe you're now looking at adopting? Here to help answer some commonly asked questions about adoptions is attorney at law with the legal team Lusk, Drasites Tolisano, Jenna Kirtley. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I want to state again, I'm not the lawyer, I'm not the expert, you are, so we're so happy to have you here this morning. And this is very interesting. We love to have you on because we always talk about different hot topics, I think. And I think this is one about adopting. And normally when you hear about adopting, you assume maybe adoption with babies, but I'd imagine this whole thing with blended families and adopting stepchildren is pretty common these days, isn't it?
It is. It's more families. People are getting divorced, getting remarried, and there are children involved, and they want to know what their rights are and how they can make them part of their family.
It's hard to know what your rights are, especially depending on what state you live in as well. Again, I'm not the attorney. That's why we're so happy to have you here. So kind of what are the first steps if maybe you are a family looking at adopting a stepchild? What are the first steps that you need to consider and do?
First off, it's important to understand you actually have to be married.
Really? Okay.
Some people think that their new boyfriend, girlfriend is able to adopt their child. The court actually wants it to be step-parent. They want you to be married.
I did not realize that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then from there, it's determining if you're going to get the other parent's consent. If mom's remarried and stepdad wants to adopt, is the biological dad going to give consent? If it is,
do you have to have consent?
It's a lot easier if you do.
Okay.
It ends up just being a matter of paperwork if there's going to be consent. If consent's not given, then it becomes more of a battle.
Okay.
You actually have
a
to
legal
go
battle,
yes,
I'm sure. And
you actually have to go to court. You have to prove that the other parent's unfit in some way, because the court doesn't want to terminate that parent's rights to their child without a just cause.
Yeah, Well, and it's interesting when you're talking about adopting stepchildren, I'd imagine there's more to it than just saying that, which, I mean, obviously you're going to want to say that you love that child and you want them as your own, but I'd imagine there's some real legal benefits, even when it comes to their health care and just different aspects. There's a lot more to consider than just saying, I want to be able to love this child and say that he or she is mine, right?
Yes, if you didn't adopt the stepchild, you have rights to that child being married to mom, but it's not the full legal benefits of whether they were born to you that you would get, especially going forward. If something were to happen to you and you didn't adopt that stepchild, you don't have protection as far as if you don't have a will. And something happens to you, that child doesn't take under probate necessarily in the same way that they would had they been a child born to you that you adopted. Once you adopt a child, it's as if they were born to you.
Okay, all right. And it's interesting, you brought up the will, and kind of certainly for, if something does happen, that's very important to make sure that the legal, legal issues are settled beforehand.
Yes.
So kind of explain that and what that means if a parent were to die and kind of what the benefits are there.
If a parent dies and you're their child and you have their will, obviously everything's going to go the way you plan as far as the will. If you don't, there's certain steps that the state takes as far as probate and how things are distributed. And if you're not legally adopted by the person to have been considered theirs, then what you're entitled to is going to be completely different than as if you had been adopted or born to the person.
Now, let's talk about age, too. I mean, let's say they are under 18. Do you have to have any kind of consent from the child?
If they're 12, the child signs off on a consent form to be adopted.
Okay.
It's generally, you still have to have parents' consent too, but if you're 12, they want the child to say, yeah, we want to be adopted too. If you're 18, you actually don't need to get parents' consent anymore. You're an adult, they recognize you want to be adopted by that person, and the adult child then signs off on the consent as well.
All right. And then I'd imagine this is something that you do want to get help with. You do want to have a legal team on your side to kind of guide you through this.
It's a lot of paperwork. Even when there is a consent given, there's a lot of steps you need to take, things that need to be filed, and it's just a lot easier with legal help.
Yeah, and I think the first step is to contact your office. You guys, again, are the experts on several different areas of law, which I think is very interesting. Yeah, and we love when you come on and do this offer. I know a lot of people are taking advantage of this. I hope they do so this morning, because you actually, if you mention the Morning Blend, call the number, you can actually get a free consult,
Yep.
right? Set up one or maybe chat a little bit on the phone. How does that work?
Yep, if they call our office, our secretary will make an appointment with the appropriate attorney. If it's not something family law, if it's personal injury, things like that, we have attorneys who handle that as well.
Yeah.
So she'll get you set up on a date and time that works well with your schedule, with the attorney's schedule. If it's going to be a phone consult, we'll get you set up with a time for that as well.
And especially when it comes to family law, it just, I mean, it really does. It's worth it to just have that extra help, make that phone call, and have that consult.
Yeah, just
so
know
knowledge is power.
Know your rights.
Know your rights, and they change all the time
Yes.
in certainly different states. So Jenna, thank you so much for being
Thank
here. We
you.
love when your team is here.
Thank you.
All right, we'll send it over to Steph.
Up next, we head to Capitol Hill. Carly chats with actor Mark Consuelos about his cynical take on politics and power in modern-day Washington. It's all happening in Mark's new show, Alpha House. But first, a look at your Fox forecast and news headlines.